Hello, good afternoon. It was Thursday, the 1st of May. May is here, the month when the season finishes, the month when we say goodbye to Goodison Park. We would have been on time, but John Blaine decided to start giving binary questions out to someone who's in the room about squad. So there you go. That's why we're 2 minutes.
Or I could just still be sat on the sofa waiting to see if I'm doing this.
Well, you could. I'd have just done it on my own, if worst come to worst. Wouldn't I? So let's get on with it.
Ped's done it on his own.
Exactly.
Apparently it's better.
It's the easiest job in the world because you're just talking yourself. So there you go. It is the 1st of May. Everton at home, the penultimate home game at Goodison Park, Ipswich.
Mad, isn't it?
At the weekend. But it gives us a chance to have a look at a striker that we are apparently all in for, according to reports yesterday.
Rumours are going up, aren't they?
That is Liam Delap. So I must admit, last time Everton played Ipswich, I was hugely unimpressed with him. He just looked like a Sunday League striker that day. He had a very poor afternoon at Portman Road. But he has been quite good for Ipswich all season. The only sort of concern, I've said this a few times with Delap, is that you look at his goals, it's not like he doesn't score huge amounts of goals.
How many do you know?
Got 12 this year, which is really good.
But like 9 of them were last year, weren't they?
But he's only scored 3 in 2025, yeah. But he didn't score loads on loan at Hull.
Yeah.
And before that again. However, you can maybe you can sort of caveat that he's a young player and he's developing all the time and learning his trade, so to speak. So what are your thoughts on Liam Delap? Is he a striker who would make you think, yeah, he's a step up? Or you're unsure, the jury out? No,
I don't think the jury's out. I think there's a risk there. So you have to de-risk that. And we might end up speaking unspeakable things in a minute on that basis. Because you've got to de-risk it with the amount of change that we're doing. And so, well, okay, so we need what? 3 strikers? And we've got, how many on the books now? 4? 4. And those 4 are ultimately 2 out of contract in DCL and Brozier. So let's do this one at a time. Brozier, that's him done, isn't it? Particularly, I imagine so. As a striker, because I don't think he is one. I don't think he's. I think Brozier's got lots of good attributes. He has, but he's not a number 9. Absolutely. Let's use that phrase then. Number 9. For me, anyway. Okay. So we're looking for a number 9, and we've got one on the books, but he doesn't want to be here and all that sort of stuff. And then you got Chermiti, who maybe if you do well in the window, he goes out on loan somewhere to a finishing school somewhere and scores goals and comes back again maybe. Albeit that would leave him with, what, a year left or something if we did that with him. So no, he'd still have 2 years, wouldn't he? Is he on 3 now? Didn't he sign 5? Oh, yeah, you're right. He did sign 5. So he'd have 2 left when he come back, which is not a bad time, is it? And the thing is, are you catching Delap at the right time? He's now got his Premier League experience. We've seen players in the past who suddenly clicks. Right, when they just pass that line called maturity or whatever it is. So then comes down to how much, and you don't get a lot. What's the claim fees in and around 30? Is it 30 million apparently relegation? You don't get a lot for that, do you? Not really. No. So if I'm the man in the committee saying yay or nay, I say yes. What say you, Baz? If you're in the committee, do you say yes? Ooh. It's the goal thing, like you say, but I don't know where you go with it. I think there's other forwards that Everton could get. Have they played in this league? Not in this league, and there's where you look. Okay, so how's about? There's your sort of banker. But he looks like a good young striker. From an age profile, the physicality notwithstanding, he can be a bit of a thug, which is what he was like at Portman Road, which is your point, right? But there's a ceiling there, a decent ceiling. Again, we talked earlier in the week, didn't we? Aggressive is probably the way, John, is that? No, he was he was playing a hard man, wasn't he, again? In the game at their place and whatever. Anyway, he went to a good school, Man City. So if he's one of your strikers starting number 9, he's your number 9. First choice number 9, starting next season. Then I think you perhaps go for one of those riskier ones, which you say, well, you can get better value and all that sort of stuff. And you know better than me who they may be. And if you do that, you've got a young-ish, decent ceiling, played in the Premier League, didn't cost you too much, Delap. You've got an unknown, but maybe an even higher ceiling, potentially, if they're coming from overseas. Doesn't that leave to keep him DCL? To de-risk the whole thing? If you can get him on the right price, you know, which is, I guess, fundamentally a decent basic wage for him, but then an appearance or a starting appearance-based deal. Does that modify what we were saying the other day, which was show him the door?
No, well, show him the door if he wants 150 grand.
Oh, clearly. No. You draw a line in the sand.
And I've said before, you know, I've defended Dom for however many years on here.
Yeah.
And he's a good centre forward. We paid £1 million for him, and we've had good value out of him. We've also had to look after him when he's had a couple of years when he didn't kick a ball, really. But I also, just to repeat myself again, I'm against someone being Everton's centre forward. I just think it's small club mentality that you have a lad and he's your centre forward, and no matter what happens, he's your centre forward. That to me is not how you run a football.
Sorry, I'm talking here as he's not your number 9.
Oh, I'm saying,
and that would be the big thing.
Oh, I'm saying this is the thing with Calvert-Lewin.
Do you think he could be the bench boy? Would he?
Yeah, if you run a squad properly and the better teams do it. Look at Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins is unbelievable. Yeah, after time he's on the bench.
So we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, right? Let's set aside first the money and say, even with his bonus for starting games, Dom's on less than 100 grand or 100. There's your line in modern day football. You can stay.
The maximum you pay for him's 100 grand.
Yeah, and
however that's made up.
And some of that is maybe a third of that maybe is variable income, right? And he's not, when you start the season in your own mind, if you're the manager, whatever, you're starting number 9 because that's Delap. And therefore you'd have a big psychological thing there because you might actually give Delap the number 9 shirt, mightn't you, if you want to do that. But then he's motivated, isn't he? Because he's not going to play other than subs and stuff. But he can say, well, actually, I can up my game and I can prove it, and he'll get his appearance fee, blah, blah, blah. And you've got your foreign guy playing in a foreign league right now who's saying, well, I want to play as well. And that's what you want, isn't it? You want 3 guys all striving to get that starting position with no favourite, in the sense of, the favourite's the guy who gets the shirt on the first day because Moyes picks him as Delap's starting at number 9 today. And the other 2 say, well, I'm having that. Then I think that's, in a process perspective, that's not too bad.
We've said before, haven't we?
And then Chermiti has to go out on loan somewhere.
Beto is a...
Oh, and you sell Beto as
Beto's a squad striker,
yeah.
isn't he? That's what he is.
Yeah.
I think if you play 38 games, you get double figures.
Sure.
But what else are you getting? Like, he's a squad striker. I think Everton will sell him if the money...
How much?
If a big... I don't know, 20 million. So,
okay.
Right? I think teams will pay 20 million for Beto in Italy. Well, we had Torino trying to buy him for 18 in January, so he scored some goals after that in the Premier League. So 20 to 25 million, I think people will pay for Beto.
Okay, so get your money back on amortised.
You know, near enough.
Break even, maybe a bit of upside.
The question is, would you swap Delap for Beto?
Yes.
And most people would say yes, wouldn't they? Like that. Almost.
Age, profile,
so you go back and you go, well, for a little bit more, you've got Liam Delap.
Yeah.
And if he carries on, then
there's value.
He'll move on for even more.
Sure.
So you go, right, we've got him. He's there. The question mark is what you do. Chermiti, ideally you want to be greedy and go, you want him here because you want him to step up and be able to use him. But the reality is he's missed a year of football this year. And if you actually, and keep saying it, if you actually break down his game started, we've got someone in the room that might be able to know how many games he started, but I don't know. But for me, he started 1 Everton game and he's had 23 appearances, I think. He started
up to about 18 minutes.
All of it. The 2 games, his whole Everton career adds up to just over 2 games.
Oh, you and James.
So Sporting, it starts in Sporting. I think he probably had 3 or 4.
He didn't play it.
So he's hardly started a game of football
in top flight
as a professional.
Yeah.
So therefore, the real thing, the proper thing, and probably the most beneficial thing to everybody would be to give Chermiti a loan.
Yeah.
Where he's almost guaranteed, if he does works hard. And
not 21 till May, is he?
Exactly right. So the real thing probably for him is that you would get him on loan somewhere.
Sure.
And he'd play all of those games. And then you'd develop.
Total career appearances in the leagues where he's played. 46.
Yeah, but if you actually...
And they're tiny.
If you look at starts...
In minutes and starts and stuff, yeah.
So... How many? 7. So he's made 7 starts in his career.
Yeah.
And he's 20. So he's a baby. So if he went to, I don't know, just 8. So let's say he went to PS. I'm using PSV because they took
brands.
So maybe brands, right, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And he went to Holland and he played the season and he scored 18 goals, but he played most weeks, whatever. That's going to help his development. Holland's not a great thing for the Premier League, but it's much better to play games every week.
Sure.
Could he go in the Championship? Well, if Everton bought Delap from Ipswich, you know what I mean? But then you might look and go, well, they've got George Hurst and he's better. Whatever, try and get him alone.
Sure.
Then that would leave you, I suppose, with Calvert-Lewin, who the manager will like. He's Premier League ready, Premier League experience. You see, because for me, if Everton went and got Emanuel Amuzu, who we've been linked and apparently have had talks with, then he can play wide, but he can play through the middle. But he's still got that bedding in bit. So what you're actually getting is you're getting Liam Delap, if it's Liam Delap, let's just use Liam Delap because that's who we're talking about. Liam Delap, Calvert-Lewin if he stays, and then Amuzu who can do a wide job with pace, good dribbler, score goals, but he can also play through the middle.
And that's where I was going.
And that's where you've got 2.5 centre forwards in your squad then.
And Dom's your anchor point, and if you start off with the belief, because you've done what you've just said, that on the first game, Delap will start in the number 9 position. So there you go, Dom. You perhaps help with the fragility as well, because he's not starting, he's not every game, it's not automatic that he starts, blah, 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 blah. And you've got a balance there, or it seems to me that there's a balance there between the tried and tested of Dom, the fella who's on the journey to becoming that, because he's done a season, he knows he can score goals in this league because he's done it, and then but not quite a wild card, because you hope your recruitment team have done more depth than a wild card, but somebody who can be bedded in, because players coming from other leagues need to bed in, don't they? And that can take Andy will know, but a year maybe.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you're trying to create a squad where it's going to be competitive, but you have also got to have assurances in there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I mean, the comments are saying get rid of him.
And that's why we're talking about it, because that would be the default.
But if you're a manager, you want to know that people can perform. I suppose if you ended up with, and again, it's a big if with Delap. I'm just saying it, Everton, Everton not a good. People are mentioning Man United. If I'm Liam Delap, I wouldn't touch United with a barge pole right now.
Graveyard.
Maybe in 2 years, because they're developing, then you go, that's where I want to be. Yeah. Why would you go to Man United? Why would you go to Chelsea? And go to either of those clubs right now? Because they're not a good,
graveyards
not
for
a
you.
good place.
Yeah.
Right? But if, say, Everton ended up with Delap, they kept Calvert-Lewin. So David Moyes knows Delap's played in the Premier League. Calvert-Lewin knows the Premier League like the back of his hand. I know what I'm getting. And then say it was Emanuel Amuzu. He's the unknown quantity, isn't he, to play there. Everton, for me, still need another centre forward, but keeping Dom negates the need to go and buy another striker, because you're going to need 2.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So Amuzu is almost the split between playing him wide because he's pacey and he can dribble, but Delap also go through the middle and change the way Everton play. Everton haven't progressed, my opinion, because they've thought they have to have this big target man who we bang the ball to, and it's the same fella.
Yeah.
Football's different.
No,
Forwards now are runners, the direct runners, the dribblers. Can they create a goal out of nothing themselves? Well, Dom can't, really. Delap, we've seen go 1v1, get half a yard and put it in. Amuzu does that very well. Yeah. So does Tierno Barry's another name who's out there. So there's lots of those lads. But if you got someone like Amuzu, however you say his name, he's a player who can play off the flank as well. Sure. Because he's got that pace. So you are getting the hybrid. Me personally, Everton then need another one as well as him, because he's
wide player.
Wide player.
Yeah, I agree.
Got to have a wide player. But Everton could be in a... You could... sort of mould it slightly differently, and by having someone like a me, I don't know whether Andy would agree or he wouldn't agree, but this is just me. By having someone like a Maker, you're almost going, he's the halfway house between a wide player and a centre forward for us. So we got covered twice. We still need it. Yeah. Maybe Moyes will go back to Tom Fellows because he's a really good crosser of the ball. Sure. At West Brom. Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, but if you got Calvert-Lewin, you got Delap, and Moyes is going, I want service in that box. Yeah. But you know what? We've got Fellows who likes to take people on, put crosses in. Yeah. And we've got a Maker who's our pacey, unknown quantity, can go right the way. You've got to create those things. Everton are too... We know how Everton are going to play. Don't we? There's no goals, there's no pace.
Right. I think, I can't see the comments, but I'm not surprised that, because I'm there, right? Tom's had plenty of opportunity to say this is where he wants to be, blah, 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 blah. But he's also got plenty of reasons to why he might change his mind, notwithstanding he's not getting a pull from... Everton's probably the best club that would be interested in him, maybe, right? Unless he goes overseas where he might not be the starter and all those sorts of things. I think he
would if he went to Serie A. I think he'd start in half a dozen clubs.
Okay, right. Okay.
And the top clubs he'd start at, a lot of them.
Well, maybe that's what he should do then, so, you know. But the big picture is risk, big turnover in players, money. You've got to stretch your budget as far as it can go. And if you do what we're sort of talking about, then clearly Dom de-risks, you know, the volume of change. Right? Moyes emphatically sort of favours physicality, so he gets that out of Delap, doesn't he? And if you're in the committee room, you say, right, where's the pacey one then? Yeah, where's the guy with natural pace? And if you end up,
Delap's not slow, by the way.
No,
we're
talking about
he's not rapid.
Pace that will worry defenders. So if we end up with a three striker thing, where one is expected to be the starting number 9, the other one's been there, done that, read the books in the movie, all those sorts of things, and you've got the pacey one, then you've got a big picture of a plan there, haven't you, which is we're recruiting a squad and a starting 11, not individual players. And I think we all do it. It's natural, isn't it? You look at the individual player and go, no, I don't want him. He's fragile. He doesn't want to be here, blah, blah, blah. Rather than, yeah, okay, fair dues, get that. But how's about he's sitting in a structure where he's not expected to be the starting 9, therefore he's the first change off the bench. He's going to be on substantially lower money because it's going to be performance-based.
Yeah.
And we've got a guy potentially coming from overseas who'll need to bed in. And you almost want a little gang of boys, don't you? We're the strikers and we help each other and all that sort of stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. And there needs to be that natural conflict in that, whatever it turns out to be, that recruitment committee, because clearly David will err on the side of physicality, and this league needs pace. And great, if you can find physicality and pace, great, but proper pace tends not to come with physicality, doesn't it? Because they're out our price range if they are big physical lads.
Let's be honest, we're going to get potentials, aren't we? If we're going with them, we're not getting finished articles.
Absolutely right.
We're not in that.
Absolutely right. And therefore, back to that, the two levers we have to look after, which are affordability, i.e. the budget, and risk. Whilst I know where you go on this, and I tend to be with you a little bit, this thing of favouring Premier League experience, it does have... it comes into play, whether we like it or not. It does come into play, but that doesn't mean all your eggs in the basket all have to have Premier League experience. And if you've got 2 out of your 3, then maybe you can catch a player who, in a year or two's time, you think, how the hell did we get him? He's worth an absolute fortune. It's great. Yeah.
Dan W says he was a yard dog when he played us. He scored 3 goals since January and cost big money. Not for me. In this day and age of data, we should be able to use data to find better value without Premier League tax. Amiga would be a better value for me.
That might be true on the financial side of it, but is it true on the risk side? Because risk is subjective. If that guy drops into this league and scores goals like he scored elsewhere, then you think, well, that was good, wasn't it? He comes in here and takes 6 months to bed in and can't hit as a bloody barn door, then you think that was a waste of money.
Delap could take 6 months to bed in, though. Nobody could.
But the risk must be lower.
Nobody could, couldn't he? We've seen players move before and not score a goal.
No, I get that. Well, you're...
I like Rasmus Højlund.
Yeah.
Right? I talk to people and they tell me he's the worst striker that you ever wore the United shirt. And yet, I think he's a good player. And I think if you put him in the right thing and went, we're building it round you, he'd do well.
Yeah.
Right? But he scored a ton of goals for Atlanta and done well in Austria. Come in, hasn't done it.
But you just made the point.
But then other players have moved within the Premier League.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
And not scored goals.
No, that's what I mean.
Look at Richarlison.
You're making the point. You can move between Premier League teams and just, whether you're moving from Liverpool to London or whatever. Therefore, that risk must be bigger if you're moving from Spain or Italy.
Of course, but that's...
And it's not... You're not
unless you talk to Thomas Frank.
Eh?
Unless you talk to Thomas Frank, they will tell you it's nonsense. If they can play in Norway, they can play in the Premier League.
No, and I can concur with that as well. If you're a footballer, you're a footballer,
What team...
But maybe Brentford are just really good at betting people in, and maybe that's part of what all, if not our Premier League club needs to do.
It's attributes. You can buy players. It's like when Everton bought Klaassen. Like, well, he's done well in Holland, and he didn't do anything here. He was better in Germany for Werder Bremen. Went back to Holland, was really good. But this league's totally different.
Because
he didn't have the natural attributes. Donny van der Beek was another one. Didn't have the attributes to play in the Premier League.
Two of the three things we've talked about, right? Of physicality,
and
didn't
pace.
have it, and pace, didn't have it.
Intelligence and all that, really probably higher than any of our players. Those two at the times. Got to have the pace to be able to do it. If you've got natural pace, then you're going to cause most teams problems.
One thing you can't coach, isn't it?
And it's whether or not, obviously, football intelligence, are you calm under pressure, that kind of thing, can you finish? They separate strikers. But even someone like Georgino Rutter, that's Brighton, he hasn't done maybe what you would have expected in terms of attributes, but his pace terrifies people when he's on the run with it.
Sure.
There's thingy at Brentford, I'm going to call him Sade, then, well, Sade at Brentford's another one. He hasn't been as good as what you looked at his potential and he could be really good, but then when he's on it and he's direct, people are on the back foot. I haven't done of anyone who puts anyone on the back foot at all. And so therefore you look at players and go, I was talking to Andy about Sam Stein, who's got 23 goals this season, and we're having the laugh going, Holland though, isn't it? But he looks really good. You look at him off the striker and he's finishing and little through ball and you're going, could we bed them into a team with but Holland is I remember all those years ago, Matthias Kesman, who had more goals than he played. Chelsea bought him. He'd had 36 goals in 31 games. And he'd come in and he couldn't hit a barn door with a freaking banjo. He was terrible. The other fella, there was another one. Alfonso Alves. More goals than games played and come to England, and Middlesbrough was dreadful. Georgie Samaras had a really good spell, didn't he? Yeah. He come in. Now, okay, Luis Suarez came in, but naturally had that. He was, South American and all. Took him a while. Don't forget, the first January to May, we all thought Jelavic was better than him.
Sure.
And then when he bet and Papa Cis, and when Suarez had the pre-season, he just went, and it went off, didn't he? So it really is. I mean, the learned gentleman friend to the left called it fool's gold, and he's right, because how do you make when you look at it, you go, he looks a cracking player. But look at Noni Madueke. I love Noni Madueke. I loved him in Holland.
Guess how you know they can do it in the Premier League? They played in it.
No, but Madueke was at PSV and PSV, Noni. So I loved him there. Yeah. And you were like, look at him. And he's come and done it. And that's why physicality, pace.
But that's why there's a perceived tax. I mean, the person writing in there talked about basically Delap's too expensive.
Is he though 13 million quid for a centre forward, 12 goals?
No, I don't think so.
The problem is, and he's that one season, because I've seen a few people say he's a one-season wonder.
Potentially.
Right? He's had one season, but we don't know, do we? So Everton could get him and he could get 17 goals, or he could get 50 and comfortably be our top scorer anyway. And then other teams then, if Everton don't progress the way you want it, other teams start going, he's done well. We'll Arsenal, say for argument's sake, or Man United in the future, we'll give you 70 million for him. Because he's English, he's young, he's just scored double fit. 2 years on the run, he's got double fit. Yeah, we'll take him. Everton could go too expensive, leave him. Fulham get him. he gets 19 for fun.
Well,
You know what I mean? And
I'm with you, Baz, because
everything's a flip, isn't it?
where I go with that is, I think the guy said, there's better value elsewhere. Where is it then? Who is it? Because as soon as you say, well, it's this guy who's doing really well in La Liga, that's one thing. If he's doing really well, and I can't say the Dutch names. There you go. Have a good go. Yeah, but that sort of thing. Then you say, well, okay, that call it value as in money spent. You get more allegedly more for your money, but so that's coming down as a lever or a scale. But the risk one's going up, right? So you've got to balance it really, and maybe that's why you end up with a bit of both, which is your point of, well, if you're going to have him, he's done it, let's find out. And it's not a huge risk financially, age, profile, blah, blah, blah. If that leads you to keeping Dom as your anchor point, because he's got all the experience in the world, then you can be a bit more risk-taking on will he settle in, will he do this, that and the other with that overseas player. And that overseas player might be your third choice. And therefore, the 1 year you might need to bed in this country and everything that goes with it is where you're at. So,
what number is?
Oh,
3.
Going to give Andy he talked more sense than me anyway.
No, because I'm just gonna.
What he will?
Just hold it. I'm just gonna ask him in terms of.
Oh.
You're at the other side. Just hold it. You only have to hold it.
Hello.
So and right, this is the obviously. Someone who's in the recruitment.
It's his job, man.
Yeah. What is that? How do you sort of level that off? Sort of like Premier League experience versus maybe someone who's got the potential. Looks like they've got loads of potential in a foreign league.
Well, that isn't a short answer, but so it depends on your squad really. It depends how much risk you can afford. If you've got. It's much easier, say you're in Arsenal, when you've got players who've played well at a certain level for 2-3 years now. They're signing players in the summer and they take a couple of risks. They've got so many players who are already at the level, ready to perform 7, 8, 9 out of 10 every single week. Makes it much easier. If you're replacing 10 players, as we're talking about in the summer, and you take all 10 of risks, then half your squad's then a risk, and then you're going to get some of that inconsistency. And the patience for inconsistency at Everton generally in the fan base is quite low. I know some fans are thinking differently now potentially, but generally overall the appetite for risk and inconsistency is low. It's just the way you can mitigate risk is mostly through the physical aspect of it. Physical data is available to every club; they can buy it. I don't know if I'm guessing Everton do. Every top club usually has it now. And it's about finding those people who can deal with the intensity of the game. Usually you look at number of sprints, the sprint speed, the top 5 sprint speeds over a season, the number of sprints, yardage they run a game, and you compare that to an average Premier League player. And obviously you don't want a 30% Premier League player, you want someone who's in the 60, 70, 80, 90% of the Premier League in terms of those physical attributes. So that's one way to mitigate it. And obviously then it's looking at the level of the league they come from, the team they come from. Like you talked about Ajax before, if you're taking players from Ajax is a very specific system. If you're someone Klassen and Van der Beek that came through as youth players, they are used to third-man runners. They're used to always available passes, people being on the same wavelength, the same at Barcelona, which is why those clubs are quite twin-linked in sort of a way. But coming to Everton, and you're trying to pass to, Doucouré, who doesn't make the right move every time. He's got his own attributes, of course, Doucouré, but it's very different, and that's why they struggle even at Manchester United with better players. Van der Beek struggle. Also the physical aspect. David Klassen can't play physically in the Premier League. No. So it's all about, there's a lot of factors into different places. It's just about, I know people don't love Dom. I've always been a Dom fan. Dom is, when he's fit, of course, but if you've got Dom as your backup to your Amiga, Hoyland, whoever else who's not adaptive fully and kicking on in the Premier League, then you've got that fallback option. Then you can go, he's had 3 rough games, we'll bring Dom in for a game or 2, give him a break, reset, develop certain aspects of his game. It just gives you that option then. Yeah.
Would you, when I'm saying with Amiga, who can almost be between the 2 positions to certainly get used to it, which way Liverpool have sort of done this with Cody Gakpo. Again, Everton could have had him a year early, but hey ho, that's done. But that kind of thing, they've used them wide, they've actually used them as a 9 as well, right through them. I know they play differently than we do, but do you think, is that something you think Amiga could do, and that could therefore negate Everton having to have 3 strikers?
It depends on the manager, really. I wouldn't say that's David Moyes. David Moyes wants a 9, an out-and-out 9 who holds up the ball, occupies 2 defenders at all times, and allows, when he was at West Ham, Bowen and whoever played on the other side, Kudus came in later, but to basically take up that space that's provided by the striker. Antonio, whatever people think of him, he was very effective. I think his most goals, he got 10 goals, 2 or 3 seasons on the bounce. That was his most goals in a single season in the Premier League. I think Moyes doesn't like those in-between players. I think he's always tended to I know he's used centre-backs at left-back and right-back now in O'Brien, but he tends to prefer specialists in positions, especially centre-forward and centre-midfield. But I think option. When you haven't got a lot of money, by a lot of money, I know I haven't got money to spend, but they haven't got City money where they will spend 250 million in one summer. You've got to be practical, and you need versatile options. You do need those. The fact that James Garner can play, right back at a push helps the squad. It does. Yeah. So if signing players who are capable of covering multiple positions is always an excellent string to your bow, really.
Because I just look at him and think he has got loads of potential. Now it seems like Everton are fully in for him, and a reports out of France yesterday, they're talking to Strasbourg and all that.
I think it makes it easier for players like him because he's already in the Chelsea system in a sense because Blueco own Strasbourg, but Liam Rosidi's the manager, so you can get really good information out of Liam Rosidi. It's probably someone Moyes can have an easy relationship, so that usually helps as well when you're taking a player. You can get as much information as possible. If you're taking someone out of, I'll just use a random league like Azerbaijan or Georgia or whatever, the actual, information that you can get out of there is much, unless there's English coaches there or coaches that already. It's very difficult, so it's hard to get that understanding of what they're like in training, what they're like in their personal lives, what they're like on the pitch, and what suits them and doesn't suit them. Because watching as much you can watch games. If you only watch games, you'll watch the wrong games. You watch games where they're only great in. You don't see the flaws. I think that's happened more in the past now. Obviously, we've got data now to cover a lot of the grey areas, but again, it's just all about all that process and about finding information, gathering on a player.
Would you take him, Iga?
Yes. I think he's got the requisite size, physical profile, the skill.
Do I think he's 6'5", isn't he?
Yeah. Do I think he's going to come and score 15 goals in his first season? I'm going to say no, but the potential's always there. Players do surprise you. So, but I think if you've got the
defences though, doesn't it?
If you've got the right balance, the Premier League's about squads now. You look at Arsenal. I know haven't had a great season now, but they've kept second place because your Trossards, your other now in areas, people like that can come in and cover the minutes when the best player Saka's injured. That's what it's about now. It's Everton at the moment. Moyes trusts about 14, 15 players currently. If you can stretch that to 18, 19, you're in a much better position. Yeah,
and goals, obviously, creativity.
Well, creativity's massive for Everton. Yeah, that's I know with Dyke McNeil out, the set pieces have gone down a little bit, so that's a big one. But it's not just creativity. If you look at what Ndiaye's done for Everton, and Ndiaye's not a natural, he can create, but he's not a volume creator. But his dribbling and breaking the lines and find them play. If he can get through the lines, then that breaks one line of defence. And if you have those people who can create the chances, Alcaraz has shown a little bit of it in his time, then that will help massively. So you need players who can break defences down, basically.
Do you see, just finally on that one, do you see Ndiaye more as a number 10 than playing off the left, or do you think the key to Ndiaye is getting a fast left back?
I think it would help him because if you at the moment, if you look at the way to deal with Everton, you'd send 2 men on and die in terms of marking him up the game, because if he breaks through, then he creates those mismatches and those overloads. Michaelenko can overlap. He doesn't always overlap, and he's no threat to penetrate the box. If he overlaps and receives, he's going to cross it instantly. Yeah. He's not going to break into the box and try and get to the byline and goes it back. And Everton probably do miss that. But you also have to think about Moyes as a manager. You have to balance that with that Moyes wants a defender as well. So it's left backs in Welsh football who can both defend and attack a very small number. So it's about making those allowances as a manager. We made it with Baines, to be fair. Baines was always an okay to decent defender. Later years he wasn't great as a defender, but he could defend his position, but what he provided you going forward was almost 10 out of 10 really for that position.
And I wonder if that's why he might stick with O'Brien on the other side then, so you've almost got that Carlo Ancelotti 3 at the back while the left back plays high and your pace comes from the right winger. Maybe it's going to be interesting. Just very quickly then, Liam Delap, yes or no from you?
Interestingly, I know Liam obviously quite well. He was at a club for a bit when he was very young. The good thing about Liam is he's actually developed quite a lot. When he was at Preston, he played like he did as a youth player, where he was very dominant of younger centre halves in youth football, because he's big, strong, powerful, fast. And when he's depressed, he struggled with that because the defender's obviously bigger, stronger, faster in the Championship than in Premier League too. But now he's definitely developed. He still needs to adapt certain parts of his game, but I think in terms of physical presence and he's, with the ball at his feet, he can beat people and create his own chances. Yeah, he's a good player. I think, people worry about 3 games. Ipswich had hope first half of the year. They play a bit more freely. Yeah. When it gets tighter, chances become less and less for strikers, and especially for sides in relegation trouble. So I wouldn't judge him. So I'd look at him across the season overall rather than look at small sample sizes when he's not been good.
That's always a bit rubbish.
I'll take all that to me, yes.
Bit rubbish on Saturday, I want to be. Or we win 6 and he can score 1 at the end.
Audition. He needs to look great, but not score.
Not score, yeah. Paddy says Delap, yes, but needs options alongside. Re-signing Dom as a squad player is a good shout, but I don't think he'd take it. On the other hand, I think sending Youssef out on loan to develop when he'd have 2 years with us on a return sounds like
so
a decent
2 years left.
Brian says, should a profile of an ideal centre forward for a David Moyes team, you would probably get Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Is Delap as good as Dom? Forget Dom's stats. No one scored under Sean Dyche. Under the right manager, I feel Dom will flourish. Okay. Alex says, afternoon, lads. Would you try to get Tyrek Mitchell on a free this summer? Better than Mikalenko.
He's not on a free. He's 2028 contract. The transfer market is done by volunteers. It isn't always correct, so be wary.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he was out of contract because I'm sure they said it on Saturday in the semi. They were talking about him. He's decent going forward, but he's not a great defender. But he's not free anyway, Alex. So. Mike says Liam Delap's not for me. He's had a good couple of games. We need more. Jez, I just think we need more value overseas because the Premier League experience thing is such a premium tax. We already have 2 birds in the hand with Dom and a no-fee approach and Chermiti on board. It doesn't make sense to me. To get Delap, maybe. No. Harry says Denzel Dumfries scored twice in the Champions League semi-final. Remember when Rafa Benitez turned him down and bought Nathan Patterson instead?
Yeah, Denzel Dumfries doesn't play in a back 4 though, like Rafa plays.
No. He's more of a winger, isn't he? But he is. I mean, you do look at it and go.
Like we used to have Cody Gakpo before. Cody Gakpo's a really good player. We're in a Liverpool team. He doesn't have to do a lot. He just has to strike the ball at the goal, which is in his skill is ball striking. In Everton, he's going to have to do a lot more. He's going to have to create beat men. He's not as good as that as his price tag was warranting. Not be honest. He's a good player for Liverpool, but it wouldn't be for everyone.
He's one of many, though, isn't he? That's why.
He's got 4 or 5. Yeah.
Therefore, you're all right. Nathan.
Nathan from Australia.
Yeah, sure. Says I think it'd be a statement signing to go with a move. I'd love a pacey striker like Wahi. If you can tie it to a pacey winger, it really bolsters our strike force.
He's signed for Bournemouth, hasn't he? Oh no, he hasn't. Sorry, that's what it said. Krupa, he's signed for Bournemouth.
Josh says, afternoon guys, I'd sign him, but I don't know about the price tag. 3 goals in 2025 isn't a great stat. Ipswich are struggling as well, though, aren't they? In all fairness, but Ian the Blue said, not so sure is the better out there in Europe, South America, etc. But I like Hutchison from Ipswich if we could get him. He's not done as well as I seen him in the Championship. He was obviously a Chelsea player, wasn't he? And he was excellent in the Championship, dribbling, quick, pay. He's not done as well as I thought he was going to do in the Prem.
High volume dribblers out of the Championship find it very difficult in the Premier League because of the size and the pace difference of defenders. If you look at half the Championship, the defenders aren't quick. They're not like in the Premier League. Basically, it's a prerequisite that they have to be 11, 12 second 100 metre runners. It's completely different.
Yeah. He is a good dribbler, isn't he? But
he's a good player. I like Hutchinson. He's a bit physically small. He's a good player, but he's one of 4 for you rather than a starter. I think at a mid-table level.
Yeah. Harrison Darby says he seems all right. I've read he wants 125 grand a week, 240 when he's only on 35.
Who's this?
Delap, apparently. I don't think he's worth it at those wages.
I wouldn't worry about what people get, what people want in wages. It's up to, I think sometimes you get bogged down and the clubs will decide what their wage. It's up to the clubs to decide, At the end of the day, you pay a premium for goals. You just do.
I mean, if he come in and scored 15 goals next season, it's as many as we've had in the Premier League since Dom, when he had his purple patch, and then before that, Calvert-Lewin. I know Richie got 10, 11 and stuff, but he'd comfortably be Everton's top scorer, wouldn't
Yeah.
If you have 3 players scoring 12 goals, you only need so many goals from the rest of your team.
Exactly. I mean, we were saying what we looked at me the other day, and it was what mid-50s was it,
Yes.
goal wise?
Yeah.
Is put you
Where you want to
halfway
be.
and a little bit higher by scoring goals. Everton are way below that, and
Yeah.
you know, again, I keep saying it, defensive numbers, Everton in the Champions League, defensive numbers, midfield is not good. You keep saying it's a low Premier League team, and the forwards at Championship level, aren't they, as in the return. So to flip that, whatever, Everton have scored 35 goals to 55 goals.
Are you going to have to take away some of that defensive stability to attack more? That's where the balance is going to have to come. And I think, you know, we've seen that Moyes do that both good and bad when he was at West Ham the last season. They struggled with that balance probably because, you know, Declan Rice left probably. But, but then it's fine keeping that solidity that you've got at the back with also having fullbacks you can provide in the final third as well.
What do you think of Habib Diarra? Have you seen much of him?
For Strasbourg, yeah, obviously very good physical profile.
Dribble as well.
Again, I do like him. The price is a big one for me, and how long he's going to take to. I don't think he's going to come in automatically and start for you every game. He could do. You've got to play him. I'm not like as high on him as other players. I'll be honest. Yeah.
Fair enough. Liam D says the bigger question is, would he join Everton? I'm not so sure. Forest seem the best fit for him. I'd say we're 12 months away from attracting a player like that. Who knows? Players see different things, don't they? If Everton offer him, say Everton offer him what he wants, and he looks at Everton and goes, new owners, brand new stadium, new manager, these look like they're on the up, and I'm the main man. That appeals to a lot of people. Back in the Northwest, of course, City, wasn't he? Could appeal to some people, wouldn't it? You know, you wouldn't have said 12 months ago someone would choose Forest over Everton. Well, you might have because of dates, but in general, you know, with that. So, players move for different things, don't they? But then Forest, Chris Wood's their main manager, signed a new deal, so Delap might be like, well, Everton are telling me I'm their number one. Forest are telling me I've got a battle with Chris Wood. Who knows?
As long as it counts out teams like Brighton at that cost, 30 million, you know, if you think you can score 12 goals again in the Premier League, plenty of people pay 30 million for him.
Yeah. So, and players move all over the place, don't they? Sometimes you go, what's he gone there for? So I wouldn't rule Everton out. Everton are a big club, and on the outside, the perception is they're moving, things are changing. So Everton you get in at Everton. Calvert-Lewin just found this, doesn't he? Obviously, because the agent's talking to Everton again. Everton are a big club, and there's not that many bigger. Who, you know, and obviously if Arsenal go in for him and go, we're gonna play you, then he'll go to Arsenal. Of course, he's gonna go. No, it's all right. I'll go to Everton, but like the likes of Forest and going, no, it's Forest. It'd easy go to Forest. I'm not convinced with the Forest do it again next year. Then yeah, you might go, but they're better, and they were better than Everton all season. Of course, they had the league position. Tells you where they are. You
get that infamous pull of Champions League if Forest qualify.
Well, maybe, yeah. He's fine. He has played in the Champions League before, when he's playing for Ipswich. So, players do. If it was only a certain amount of clubs, then no one would ever go. No club would ever improve, would they?
That's right.
No club would ever get better because the players would only want to go to these. So, I'm not, you know, and if he doesn't want to come, then we don't want him, do we? We need players who would want to come and be part of what we're going to be, not ones who are doing us a favour. Ryan says, hey lads, hope you're doing well. With the Dom contract renewal talks, it may make me think about the Minter transfer falling through in exchange for Dom. Do you think retrospectively it was a missed opportunity? Granted, all reports said it was Dom's contract, that was the deal breaker. Or are you satisfied to get someone else? I'd have loved Jan Kuba Minter. Yeah, I mean, he's not been brilliant for Brighton, but he'd have been much better for us because he's pacey and he has scored a few goals. But Dom wanted a lot of money, didn't he? And he couldn't get the deal done. So Dom could stay and end up scoring key goals, and we go, oh, thank God we didn't let him. You know, who knows? Who knows? You never know, do you? Lots of things happening.
He might very well, Dom, wherever he end up earning less than he would have done if he'd just taken what Newcastle offered him.
Well, he's played win-lose, hasn't he?
Of course, yeah. And maybe that's why he's changed his agent, as we discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
Overplayed the hand a little bit.
There's a big variable you've missed here. There was a certain manager involved at the time that wasn't. There's a different manager now. So this Dom doesn't want to be here. Yeah, nonsense. I always find is yes, he didn't want to be here when there was a certain manager at the club. There's a different manager now. Probably suits him a lot better.
And I've got no issue with the thing of I don't want to play for him, because I know a couple of players who went. Well, both of them went to Nottingham Forest because they laughed at the thought of coming and playing for him. And there was a lot who just said no.
Yeah. And we talked about this yesterday, didn't we? That, if Dom signs a new contract and he gets that interview, there's lots of ways.
I don't think he'd ever come out and go.
No, he's not.
But he could say. You can read between the lines, can't you?
He will say stuff that allows us all to read between the lines. But going into that new stadium with new owners, there's two very good reasons.
New manager, attacking football,
all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
A lot of the players have already said that, haven't they?
Oh gosh, yeah.
They've already come out and gone. We go forward now. We try to win the game now. I mean, that's the most damning thing you'll ever hear from a footballer, isn't it? About the previous regime. So,
do you know my story about why this will work? So. I don't know if you've told this one. I think I've told you before. So Moyes was going to sign Milenkovic, who's now Forest for West Ham, and he got on the phone with him. And Milenkovic said to Milenkovic, "Are you happy to come to West Ham?" And Milenkovic said, "Yeah, I was hoping to go to a Champions League team, but West Ham will do it. It sounds good." So Moyes said, "Yeah, thanks for that." Put the phone down, rang Dave Sullivan, said, "I don't want this player, doesn't want to come here." So if Dom, who people think don't want to come here, was showing any inclination that Everton were a second option, or he was just taking it because he's got nothing else, Moyes would root him out almost immediately. He does not, obviously people remember I think it was Robbie Savage or someone with a stupid phone call that he got rid of. I don't know if it was Moyes, but it was someone like that. Keane, yeah. People, Moyes is the same. He won't suffer fools. So
Moyes done it. Bellamy, that's
Bellamy. Sorry, that was the one.
Circled of Bellamy now, wasn't it? Saying.
So that's Moyes. He will not take people who are just using Everton as not as a stepping stone, because you need that element to it, but as a second choice because they're not getting else, because they're not committed then to his cause. Then so it's very different.
I think he'll do the right thing and get it's the players who we need players who are quick this year. We can't go into a season again with.
We keep saying this.
We do, don't we? But the difference is, for the first time in a few years, we've got a little bit looser purse strings, as in we're able to do a little, a bit more than we've been. We've been hamstrung for 5 years, essentially, haven't we? And we've got a manager who wants to be here and demands that we are better, which we've not had for a few years. And is, like Andy's just said, very, very thorough.
But likely to favour physicality over pace?
I don't know, though. I don't know.
He wants both, don't be wrong, but
of course,
as a baseline, he does not want to be caught by being overpowered. On a base level, Moyes does not want to be overpowered in games. Now, if you've got a solid defence, what's the best way to score goals? Counter-attack at pace.
Absolutely right.
I mean, we scored a couple of goals in the last couple of years like that, but
we're still a big side. And especially if he maintains Calvert-Lewin.
Oh, yeah.
The big, and he goes and gets this. He will have that physicality. It's the pace thing. He's set. To be fair to David Moyes, you go and listen to most of his press conferences. He talks about they were quicker than us. He's on 3 different occasions. I can't remember the games off my head, but I've sat there and gone, he's basically saying we're too slow. These players are nowhere near good enough. We keep saying he'll say it without saying it. We need better. We need quicker players.
We all know what you need in
more.
This league.
So, look at the elite teams in the Champions League. They're all lightning on the break, lightning 1v1 dynamic players, and that's different. I know City are more users of the ball, but even so, Marmoush, Doku, all those players, dynamic, lightning with the ball at the feet. That's the difference. Mate.
There was this sport on the telly last night. I don't know whether you caught it. And there was this sport. It was boss. I'm going to start watching it. It was similar to football, but it can't, because it's not what I see when Everton play, so it mustn't be that. But there was a cracking one on last night, but talking of physicality and pace and everything.
Well, how high was Barca's line? You know what I mean? It's like, it's insanity.
It was unbelievable.
Baz put in our WhatsApp group, they make Spurs look cautious.
They playing in the other half.
Which is weird, because Hansi Flick's generally not as over, there you go.
Brilliant. And there's a striker who Everton got offered a few years ago. Big Marcus.
Yeah. And in the previous round, say who Gerassi,
yeah. Well, yeah. No, it's going to be fascinating, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
This summer's going to be fascinating.
This is just one segment of the team. Then we've got to sort midfield out as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, the midfield is a...
The only position that you probably don't need to sign for is a goalie. I'd probably keep... Virginia's up, isn't he?
He's I think Evan have got the offer.
I'd you know what, as a backup goal, he's fine. You know, touch wood, Pickford doesn't get injured generally. If he misses a game, we're not talking about I remember the gasps when we played. We beat them that day, Man City, when Mooch was in goal and every shot was, you know. So it's not like that when Virginia's in goal at all. So you can't, you know, backup goalies are important at times.
It is weird. It's weird, isn't it? Because obviously there is a lot. I mean, we know that we've got Jameson and Ashley Young, who...
Combined age of 79.
Exactly, yeah. I'm not convinced either will be here next season.
The rumours is that Seamus is going to be a player coach, isn't it?
And if that is, then that's sort of...
Leads a dressing room.
It's a dressing room, and he's basically just there to keep that going, isn't he? And that I think will be the end of
Ashley Young. Isn't it? Yeah.
And I could see Coleman coming on last 2-3 minutes if you're protecting the lead, just to...
Every now and
you just to say, let's see us through this.
And then you've got, obviously, Decore.
I keep it less money, no problem.
As a squad player, though.
Yeah, to me, there should never be a guarantee. Don't get me wrong, there is in a manager's head a guarantee first 11 when they're all fit, but it's all about the squad, horses for courses. Certain games that you're going to need certain players. Like, you know, you're keeping it tight. You're going to have to play Dwight McNeil because of set pieces. It's just something that, you know, do I want to see Dwight McNeil every week for Everton? Probably not. But in certain games, it'd be very useful. He can be, you know, he works hard off the ball as well.
You've got to measure it up. I think the key thing is getting that freshness in there, getting the goals in that pace in there, and hybriding it with what you've got as well. And like Andy said, you look at some games and go, you see, we should get to a situation where we don't know what his starting 11's really going to be. You get a good idea, but when you see the names on the team sheet, you just go, all right, this is what we're playing today. But still, at times now, you get it and you sort of go, why is he playing him again? You know what I mean? And that, I know there will probably always be that, because as fans, you have what you think the manager should do. But
if you sort of want the old Liam, you haven't scored for 3 games, Dom starting.
Absolutely. Again, I've said this.
Vice versa.
The biggest thing that's done my head in is Dominic Calvert-Lewin not scoring a goal for 5 months and playing every bit. Nonsense, that. It's terrible management.
Yeah.
And it's destroying the football player.
Of course it is.
Once he's gone 3 or 4 games without a goal, come and sit with me, mate. Have a little look at how the game is, refresh.
Come on with 15 minutes to go.
Because
everyone's
if I'm number 2 striker and this fella's 5 months without a goal,
what am I here for?
What are you expecting me to do, mate? Go on and get you out the crap. And that was what done me head in with Dyche, because Beto did go and get him out of it, and he shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
He went and dragged him out of it a few times because he was such a poor manager. And that's the problem, is that you can't do that. You know by looking at managers what they're like. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, 4 or 5 games without a goal, you're not in the team, mate. Come and sit here. Because your job at the end of the day is to put the ball in the back of the net.
I think if you look at, like, you know, people go on about like team, you know, the first 11. Even if you look back to the 80s, where really it was 12 or 15 man squads, where it was, I don't, you know, the famous Everton team of the 80s. I don't think they probably played together, you know, a lot of times every game, because you know, obviously Southall, Ratcliffe, Mountfield, Van der Howe, Stephen, Bracewell, Reid, Sheedy, Gray and Sharp. Heath played. Alan Harper played. Was Kevin Richardson the one? So you look, and a lot of the times it was one of them in and out every other week. They were playing. So same Man United. I think the famous, you know, Ferguson 11 played together 8 times total, because they were either out injured, they were different players playing the game, because Wes Brown was playing or whoever was playing. So David May was coming in, whoever, you know, Ronnie Johnson, whoever was coming in. So it's all about squads. The best teams have squads, and unfortunately for Everton fans, patience required. You're not going to have 22 players you're like, yeah, it's another 2-3 seasons before you're going to get rid of everyone that people doesn't like. But it's all about that process. It's all about getting better, incrementally better each season.
Do you think as well the trust in a manager is so important, isn't it?
For Everton fans, I think 100%. Yeah.
You know, if we look and go, well, we sort of trust David Moyes, and he's decided today that
he's got a lot more leeway. So if he's deciding on a player, people trust what Moyes, because the past, of course, what Moyes has done. He'll get it right. Whereas I think if you brought in, say, the next version of Roberto Martinez, the leash should be much shorter for patience in terms of, how we're playing. I think if, Graham Potter, whatever people think of him, I think if he came in, he's like, I need a couple of windows before I do, then get results. I just don't think Everton. I think some would, because they understand that Everton needs to evolve a little bit. But I also think that some fans are short on patience because what's happened the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, I'm seeing it at United, aren't we? With Amarim. Amarim needs a few windows.
I think it's 50-50 with their fans, because you've got the fair weather fans who joined when they were successful and success, and then you've got the diehard Man United fans who are thinking, it's been so bad the last 10 years, nothing's really worked. Even when we were winning FA Cups, we were never really a threat.
No.
We need something to change. Why don't we just back this change? And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. That would it. I am fascinated by what we see, to be honest. Gav Cunningham says Decore 12 goals in 163 appearances. Why keep him at holding players back like Harrison Armstrong?
But Harrison Armstrong will be ready next season for one, but he might be ready for the bench, but he's not going to start games. I think it's.
What would you do with him, man? Would you?
I'd send him on to loan if it's Derby. If it's Derby again, I wouldn't be mad. Playing games as age is the most important thing. Yeah. Unless you're ready. If you look at now in current Premier League, if you're ready at 17, 18, like now in Area or Miles Skelly, you play. If you're not ready by 18, you tend to go out on loan, and you get ready by that way. And I think we've obviously over the past, especially under when David Unsworth had the team, was very critical of especially me, was very critical of our players never went out on loan because the Premier League 2 trophy was going to be played around the City underdog. But it's like it really needs to change in the fact that if they're ready, great, put them in the squad. If they're not, it's no harm in them going out on loan, no problem at all.
So Armstrong, Andy, if Derby stayed up, would you put him there again or
somewhere else? I wouldn't see a problem. I think the value in putting him in a playoff. They
love him at the moment. So.
Yeah, the value's in the playoff. If he's going to play every week for them and he's going to develop as a result, then by all means. But Derby, again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to test him in a more of a winning environment, then if you can find a team that's going to guarantee him, like a West Brom or something, the games, but they've got Isaac Price, who's a pretty similar player, so it's that's where the risk comes in. If Everton knows he's going to play somewhere, playing is I don't think Everton knew that Coleman was going to lead Blackpool to a playoff victory. No. It worked out well, you know what I mean? I think Derby, because they've got money, can invest and they can be a mid-table team, no problem next season.
Oh, good to hear.
It's weird, isn't it? Because you see them doing well and you think,
he's been good, but he's not been great. He's been solid. He's done well. Some games, he found it tougher than others. Another loan won't do any harm. No harm at all.
It's about development, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
if you're ready young, you're ready. If you're not, then there's no harm in that.
We're wanting them to develop so that he's a good enough Premier League footballer for Everton, don't we? That's what we're hoping at. We're hoping he'll develop his physicality. He'll fill out a little bit. Believe me, mate at Derby season ticket also, he looks physically bigger than when he joined already.
Yeah, they've been working on his body, and he's physically maturing. Yeah.
And then if he has another season and does really well next season, then you look and go, Leon Osman, he went to Derby for the season and he was in our first team. That's what you're hoping for.
My mate Al's, a Derby fan, and he's hope we stay up and we can get Armstrong for another year. So. But I'm interested to hear what Andy's talking about, the way the funding is going across there, that they should be mid-table-ish. Yeah,
I think Eustace, with the results he's got so far, they spent 6 or 7 million in January. They just bought Lee Bromby in, who was at Huddersfield when they were overperforming the budget, to look at recruitment. Oh, cool. He's very big on physical aspects, Lee.
Was he the ex-centre-back?
Yes, played for Sheffield Wednesday. He was a England under-21 player before he got injured. He's very big on physical aspects, Lee, and I think they'll sign players who are physically ready. They'll take a next step in their recruitment, I think. They brought Mark Thomas in from Oxford last season as well to look at recruitment. So that's what they'll do. So I think the problem is with the Championship is, unless you've got big money, you've got Birmingham and Wrexham coming. I don't know what Wrexham are going to be, obviously, because they've got to change a lot of players. But Birmingham have already signed players who are ready to play in the Championship, ready for next season. There's rumours they're trying to side Shade Adams. So there's lots to compete with. But no, I think Derby will fine next season. They'll upgrade the players as they go.
Good.
I've just seen. Steve wants me to ask you about Evan Gessan from Nice.
Yeah, I've watched Evan for a long time. He was playing for Jim Ratcliffe's team, Lausanne, as well. I like him. He's physically great. I think this is his first season of good goal return. It's a risk, but physically, very good player. He's got a good all-round skill set in the fact that he can hold the ball up, but he can bring others into play. Yeah, he's one that doesn't. He's one that I'd have to really look deep. And as I say, I'm not watching Premier League level all the time. He's just one that I would need to hard look at before I part it with. 25, 30 of
That
these.
sounded like a long no to me.
No, it's not a long no, it's a maybe, but it's not one I'm not going to be definitive on it, unfortunately.
Fair dues, mate.
What do you think of Shea Charles at Sheffield Wednesday?
He's not going to. He's a good one long term. He's got a good ability, good physicality. Again, if you bring him in as part of your 4 or 5 men in midfield, then there's one to develop. Then no problem. He's a different player to Armstrong, so it's not going to harm Armstrong. Again, is he upgrading on what you've got starting? No, not currently. No.
Yeah. And it's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is fine. It's you at Premier League level when you've got hundreds of millions to spend. Finding players who are definitively better than what you got can be quite difficult. It's that 5 or 6% difference sometimes.
Do you think if you were doing it, would you be looking with Everton the way Everton are? Would you be looking for someone in midfield who can put the foot on the ball a little bit? Because I think we've got. I'd be looking
for balance between the two, because I think that Everton under Moyes are not going to be a heavy possession team. We do need someone who can get your control of games is massive in the Premier League. So you look at Brentford, who are a very physical team. They've got Norgard, they've got players who can get on the ball and control the game. You do need that, and I think obviously Garner's been asked to do that, but inconsistent at times as they can go missing in games. But I think that is important, as well as having that fit, the Garner-Gay level tackling interceptions and winning the ball back and pressing, harrying people. You do need that level of control in games. And that same with up front. That's why Moyes is chastising better, because he's not control games by keeping hold of the ball and taking away that pressure.
Because I just looked at, I think we match a lot of teams, like for the battle. I think it's when you played like Liverpool and Arsenal, they're like athletes, so they do sprint away from ours because ours aren't quick. But I think physically we're all right. But the big key thing is, and obviously it will stand out against like Man City, but we can't, and Arsenal, we just can't get on the ball. Even Chelsea at the weekend, you look at them and you go, they're all right, and we're all right physically, and it's a tight game, but when we have the ball, our midfield players just cannot put a foot on.
If you look at Palace, who've done well against City in recent years, they've got pace on the counter, but they've got people like Adam Morton in midfield who can get hold of the ball and keep it, and that can be the difference for you. That's someone who can actually get hold of the ball and keep the ball, because at the moment Garner's got a lot better on the ball since his first time at Everton playing PSG. You would do. But you've still got Decore giving the ball away a lot. Garner can be hit and miss at times. You need people who can pass the ball forward, essentially.
Because I think if you, I wouldn't have Decore for me now, just be sub anyway, because I'd have Alcaraz, because I think he does look.
Depends on the game again, I
think he looks after the ball better anyway. If you had him off the striker, it's Richard, I think, fine. But it's who you put next to them, because I think when you have James Garner, like you just said, he's like that. Some weeks you go, he's been really good. I think
it depends on the game and who you're playing. Sometimes if there's a lot of pressure on him from aggressive midfield, he's not.
No, and that's where
he's got a little bit of time. He can think about it. He can play some nice football.
Because he's since he's come back, he's been hit and miss. I thought he was quite good in the opening part of the season. He got the injury. He's not been the same. He's all right on the ball, but again, it's decision making, which is probably games and coaching.
The speed of the game for him is probably it's when it starts slowing down for players. You talked Brentford before and invested in players. Everton are not going to wait 3 years for Mikel Damsgaard to get cut. They just would. Everton fans just wouldn't. That's a different level of patience for them, and they're a different club, of course. Much lower expectations, much lower ceiling. But no, you do need those players who make the difference quite quickly at Everton, definitely.
Because I think that would turn a few of the games as well.
It would.
You look at like Newcastle, they've got a really good midfield to be fair, but Bruno puts his foot on the ball and slows it. You've got
he's flanked by Tonali and Joe Linton 6 foot and just win Everton. You know what I mean?
You've got Joe Linton who's been excellent. And then you look at Villa's midfield.
Same.
I mean, Boubacar Kamara, who we were banging on about years ago.
It's poor man's slightly poor as Declan Rice, isn't he? Played the centre back, moved into midfield.
Everywhere. And you've got Rodgers and Onana and Tielemans. These are
all athletes.
These are the levels, aren't they? And that's what Everton somehow have got.
There's your checklist of attributes all coming out.
Well, the first tick always is at the Premier League is an athlete. You need athletes. Unless you're Man City and it's like a Rodri who's just a special player in midfield, you can allow the fact that he's all right, but he's not like a super athlete. He's got a yellow card before he walks out for a tactical foul, hasn't he, Rodri? But that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it is. A couple of people asking you about Lucas Bergwijn. I know we spoke about him before Spurs got him.
He's a
kid, isn't he?
He's a kid. Just signed a new deal. Good player, Lucas Bergwijn. You can just see it sometimes. Players who are like, Sweden's now getting, well, I would call it expensive for the Championship, but it's becoming like, when there's players like him, he was 8 million, I think he was.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a 17, 18-year-old. Don't get me wrong, it's a very good academy they've got. Can't say the name. It's a long from Jakalakana or whatever they're called. But he was just, in terms of his attributes and closing the ball down, defensively and attacking, he was very good for his age, that difference. And you do find those players out there, but this is where the difference, and this is where Everton have to get better at. You sign your Chermitis, you're going to have to develop them.
Yeah.
Because PSR, you have to take those players between 5 and 10 million who are young, 19, 20, and develop them so they back up your squad, because you can't keep paying, because of the PSR and the limitations the clubs outside the big six have. You can't keep paying 25 million for a whole squad. You just will not be able to do it.
No.
So that's why the academy is also important as well.
Of course, yeah.
See, I love the idea of going and getting a few of those players who are 5, 6, 7 million and going, well, these are
taking a punt.
You're not even really going to see it. They're going to be dotted around.
I think Newcastle signed the kid out of Malaga, Casado, or whatever his name is, something like that. That's what they're planning to do with him. They've got Sula, they signed from Sheffield United. Yeah. So those are the types that you need to do. I think people talked about Chris Rigg from Sunderland. They cost a little bit more than that, to be fair, but
They are the ones, aren't they? Because if you can get them in and go with babysitting them almost till he's ready, but he's going to get bits and we're going to move it around, as well as the ones you're doing. And hopefully,
look at Bergvall, he wouldn't have played a lot this season with all those injuries. Same with Archie Gray, people like that. Look at Jed Spence, he was off the squad until he needed him. He's now serviceable, right? He's not great, but he can play.
And that's like Forest have sort of done it, haven't they, with a couple of players like you've seen.
Well, yeah, I know Ross well. He'll tell you that they've spent, I think, twice they've spent more than 20 million on players. It was Sangari and three times Sangari, Anderson and MGW, Morgan Gibbs-White. And apart from that, a lot of their best signings, Murillo 15 million, Milinkovic 12 million. So yeah, it can be done. It can be done, yeah.
Just good. It's good. It's obviously good recruitment, of course.
Don't be wrong, that style of football is much easier to assimilate than a Man City style where you need to be the level of on intelligence on the ball. Luckily, Everton are more in between those, so it's much more easy for players to assimilate.
Let me ask you this as well, just because it comes from me, but it's one I've been thinking anyway. Should Everton be targeting Man City players who aren't
academy?
Because I look at all
always this
Rodgers and people like
Chelsea players and Chipong, the young right back centre back. Anyone who's disgruntled of that level of talent, 100%. Yeah. Because look at Adebayo was at Manchester City, plays with Fulham now. He's at Chelsea.
We did try to get him.
That's what you've got to. I remember writing an article when I was a blogger, and my big thing when I thought Marcel Brands is coming, that's what he would do. Yeah. That was, he took. Stephen Bergwijn from the Ajax Academy was 16, that type of thing. Look, we did well with Ellis Simmons to an extent where we took him from Man City at 16, developed him to a certain level, sold him for money to help the PSR. You've got to be on those players because Everton should be, like Dortmund have been, that viable alternative for players who want to play. So I'm not saying we get James McAtee because I probably think that it's Tottenham or someone to pick him up, but that level of player where they're like, are outstanding, physically ready as well. They're the players that Everton need to be in for every time.
Look at that. I mean, we played against one at the weekend in Lavia. I know the injuries have killed his move, but they picked him up for 15 million, Southampton. Sold him a year later for 62. There's when you go through the players who've been in their academy and now else,
Chelsea, Man City.
Pedro Porro had come from City. Spurs paid 63 million for.
To be fair, he was only at City for like a cup of coffee, but
no, but I'm saying.
He's someone from Girona.
Rodgers is
funnily, Pep's brother is the managing director.
Douglas Luiz. They're all there who believe in, and they're the ones.
Well, if you look at players who have not even gone through Man City, Tati Castaños is Lazio's top scorer. He came through at the New York City. We got.
I watched him though at New York, and I was like,
I didn't love him either because he's more of like a winger who plays centre forward. But he's good. He's good in Italy, to be fair.
So it is. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a big world, but there's obviously a lot of variables out there when you're trying. Yeah. It is. It's going to be a huge summer. Let's see what we do. So finally, John Delap, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
How about you?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah,
I want him.
Lads, beggars can't be choosers. That's 30 million. Let's not be choosers.
I know why I want him. I want him to come simply because there's lots of people going. There's no chance he comes to Everton. And when people say that, I probably want that to happen more because people are saying that than me actually wanting Liam Delap. Right. And the reality is, those people are probably right. He probably won't come to Everton, but I would love it if Liam Delap just went, yeah, I'm going to Everton, and people were like, oh, didn't think we'd get
Just
it.
sell it properly to him.
I think the other clubs will have a say.
It depends what he foresees his future being. If he wants Everton, if he wants to play and use Everton as a stepping stone, I know people hate that, but
that's what we
until we make the Champions League, we're a stepping stone. Exactly. I think that's what every club is. Then he may think, or if he thinks that Man United are promising him the world and we're going to turn it around pretty quick after the pre-season ban and a couple of signings, then maybe Man United's the best. So there's a lot of variables, as you say.
But do you have Hoyland on loan?
I was a big fan of Hoyland. I loved him. He was at Sturm Graz. Yeah, you've got to service him though, man. I think I looked at some stats the other day, and he just doesn't get service, man. Bruno's been, but I saw a paper, a journalist say that Bruno's been the player of the season. I was like, he's been good in a bad team, but he's not player of the season. Let's be brutally honest. But
player of the season, though.
Yeah, by comfortable. Yardage, she's the best player they've got. Yeah, but if you're going to say any striker they get, they're going to have to service better. They just, at the moment, the system just doesn't help. With the current players it's a pre-season, of course, they're just not servicing strikers. So I like Hoyland. Electric pace on the break. We haven't seen that Man United because they build up so slowly. Yeah. He was really good on the break when he was at Atalanta and Sturm Graz.
He's physically, he's good.
He's a big lad. Do you know, if you look at before the start of this season patch where he didn't score a lot of goals, if you look at last season, I think he was like 1 and 3, which, and again, people are like, we need 1 and 2 strikers. Well, for 25-30 million, well, 1 and 2 from, you know what I mean? But you've got. I think any striker can score 12 plus goals for Everton. Would be really great right now. I think someone did some analysis on that. I think Everton have had one who scored 15 plus once. Is that Lukaku? And that's the only person who scored 15 plus. I think for Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin
get 15 in the year.
That was all comps.
24. He got 24 in all comps.
He might have got 15, yeah. But
he might have got 50, but he's the only
plus,
one. Only 16 that they got.
Even before that, the Yak was probably the only one who got a lot of goals. Yeah. Zaha probably got 15, 18 over a season, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, we haven't had a proper striker since Lukaku, have we? In the
80s, yeah.
So, and then before then the 80s when they all got 20 odds, yeah. Right, there you go. Big thanks to Andy there.
Cheers, Andy, mate.
Good talk off there, and we'll see. Listen, keep the links coming, because it gives us something to talk about.
It does.
There you go.
And we'll move on to midfield next time.
Midfield, who's in midfield there? But yeah, love it. Right, take it easy. We will see you all later. Bye.
Bye.